Next week, with episode 11 of the summer, I turned pretty season 3. We're finally coming to the end of the series, and I'm literally dying of excitement to see what's going to happen when Jeremiah shows up in front of Belly in Paris. I know you're also bursting with curiosity to find out what will happen between Jeremiah and Belly in the finale. So let's not waste any time and take a look at how the events of episode 10 will shape what we'll see in the last episode of the series, Belly's life in Paris. At the beginning of episode 10, we saw that Belly's life in Paris is still tough. With the chaos at her place and the struggles at work, we really saw Belly fighting with life for the first time. But even though it was hard, it was so nice to see her getting used to Paris and finally putting her life in order. The fact that she wanted to stay in the city instead of going back to her family for Christmas really showed me that she wanted to start a new life. Taylor coming to spend New Year's Eve with her, telling her not to run away from relationships. And then Billy stepping into the new year by kissing Benito really felt like the first steps of this new life. Later on, her wanting to stay in Paris for another year made me feel like she was now fully focused on it, making peace with Conrad and both of them admitting they're moving on with their own lives. Jeremiah always worrying about how Belly was doing and sending her his best wishes. Even though the past left some bitterness, was honestly sweet and peaceful, especially after Jeremiah sent Billy his favorite things. Seeing Billy finally send him a postcard really made me happy because I felt like Jeremiah truly deserved an answer after all those kind thoughts. Even though the series tried to make us believe that Billy's feelings for Jeremiah were over and that she was starting a beautiful life with Benito, I honestly think what happens in episode 11 will change our minds completely. And here's my question for you. Which life do you think Belly should choose? A new one with Benito or her childhood dream with Jeremiah? I think I already know the answer, but let's meet in the comments. And after talking about the brothers, I'll tell you who Belly might choose in the finale. Conrad's downfall. Conrad's downfall. After canceling his wedding to Belly, things really went downhill for Conrad. First, he distanced himself from everyone, and in episode 10, we saw that things with his dad completely fell apart. He lost his financial support and had to quit his job. But I actually think all of this is good for Conrad because until now, he never had to take care of himself. And now being forced to that might finally make him grow up. For example, before his fight with his dad, he repeated the same reckless behaviors, like kissing a friend's girlfriend. But after losing his dad's support, he realized his mistakes and matured enough to make peace with Laurel and Jeremiah. In his talk with Laurel, realizing that his real problem was being dependent on others and finally acknowledging the mistakes he made was honestly so refreshing. And of course, the most important thing is that despite his anger at Jeremiah, he still truly loved his brother deep down and didn't want to cut their bond. That was the moment Conrad became too lovable again. Even though I find it a little too much that he matured enough to advise Jeremiah to talk to Billy, I have no doubt that his house sharing with Denise will help him become an even better and wiser person. So, what do you think about Conrad, Hud? Do you think he's completely over Billy, or could he lose control again in a possible Jeremiah and Billy finale? Write your thoughts in the comments. Jeremiah's loneliness. And now it's time to talk about the one who breaks our hearts the most in every single episode. Jeremiah once again wanted to help everyone and fix things in episode 10, but in the beginning, he just couldn't do it. The sweet letters he sent to Belly, the messages to his brother on every special day, telling him he missed him and always checking in with Taylor and Laurel for updates about them were so sweet. But at the same time, so heartbreaking. Luckily, at his Christmas meetup with Steven, we found out that their relationship wasn't bad, and that gave him some relief. Later, running into Conrad at their mother's grave and putting everything behind them probably made him the happiest as a brother. Because Jeremiah's loneliness was really unlike anyone else's loneliness. Seeing himself as the one who ruined everything broke us all. Luckily, the thing we were most upset with Belly for messing up the brothers' relationship, even unintentionally, Jeremiah and Conrad managed to fix it on their own lives. And finally, the biggest development of the episode, Jeremiah getting hopeful after Belly's postcard and heading to Paris, curious about where his feelings would lead, was definitely the most exciting thing in the whole show for me. By the way, I want to quickly mention Agnes since the moment she appeared on screen, I really shipped her with Jeremiah. But Jeremiah will never be able to forget Belly, and Agnes being such a good friend to him actually reminded me a lot of Denise and Steven's relationship. That's why I'm officially back on the Jeremiah and Belly ship, which we may finally get to see again in episode 11. And now, let's talk about the amazing developments I believe we'll get. Episode 11. First of all, we need to know this. Billy and Jeremiah will absolutely meet in Paris. From behind the scenes videos of their Paris scenes, we saw that their outfits were the same as the ones in the last scene of episode 10. So I think episode 11 will open right with a reunion. This meeting will probably turn Belly's entire plan upside down because she really had prepared herself for a future with Benito and cut ties with the Fisherers completely. But of course, we know she won't just send away the boy who came all the way to Paris for her childhood love, her one and only. That's why I expect to see scenes of Jeremiah and Belly